From building a real-life, fully functional ship to one of the actors actually learning the Mohawk language for the show, these are some of Outlander's best behind-the-scenes moments. Remember the ship Jamie and Claire were heading to the Caribbean on? It's the real deal. Like, the ship actually set sail on the sea for some time at least. Hewan said that when he was on deck, he tried to spin the ship's wheel, and it moved. Technically, the wheel doesn't steer the ship. There's a proper mechanism under the deck that does it. He went on to say that the boats on the show were super realistic, and they really just transport you to another time. The one they used for the Caribbean voyage, the Artemis, was built especially for the show. The other two ships, the Porpoise and the Bruja, were borrowed from another Starz TV show, Black Sails. Fun fact, even though the Porpoise is about 3 times the size of Artemis, it doesn't have a physical bow and stern. Those parts were added on using digital effects. As for the Bruja, they never actually filmed on it. It's used as a reference for the visual effects when they see young Ian being taken away by the pirates. Pretty cool, huh? But the ocean journeys featured on Outlander are even more elaborate, because realistically portraying ocean voyages is no walk in the park, and it certainly doesn't come cheap. The first challenge was finding the perfect location. They considered various places like the Caribbean, Hawaii, and studios with water tanks in Malta and Mexico. But they kept circling back to the idea of borrowing the set from Black Sails. It had everything they needed. Water tanks, a recreated 18th century Caribbean town, and, most importantly, tall ships. Now, what really sells the ocean journeys of the ships are the visual effects created using blue screen and green screen technology, which are added later. The below-deck scenes of the Artemis are filmed on a separate soundstage, where they've carefully recreated the cabins and holds. You can even walk through them or sleep in the tour bus-like bunks. Shooting scenes above deck requires cooperation from the weather. The ships can be maneuvered to get the best angles, like having the sun act as a backlight for the director of photography. But sometimes they wait for specific weather conditions. In fact, on one lucky day, they captured 5 actual lightning strikes with 3 cameras rolling. There's also a little secret behind those impressive scenes where the actors appear to struggle on a ship at sea. The Artemis, below deck, and above deck spaces are mounted on a gimbal with hydraulics underneath, giving them that rolling sensation as if they're truly on the open water. The surface water and crashing waves are simulated, but the water rushing onto the deck is the real deal, created by a combination of wind and rain machines. The best part about this, the rehearsals were done without the waterworks. So when the actors were splashed with water during the actual shoot, those reactions were very real. Outlander's production team is really big on keeping things real and as authentic as possible. For example, those printing presses in Season 3 are real and fully functional. According to executive producer Ronald D. Moore, they wanted it to be a big, beautiful, iconic set that truly matched its significance in the book. But co-executive producer and writer Matthew B. Roberts shared that it didn't exactly match the description, but it's still pretty amazing. Here's the interesting twist, though. They filmed the exterior scenes at a location near the Royal Mile in Edinburgh, which had stairs leading up to the door. Because of that, the production team had to build a 2-floor print shop set to accommodate this architectural detail. Production designer John Gary Steele had 2 working printing presses created just for that scene. Sam Hewan was actually sent to printing school to learn how to operate these machines, and even printed numerous pamphlets that fans see on screen. Talk about dedication to authenticity. But now and then, they've had to make some production decisions that weren't quite as authentic. Let's just say that it wasn't really North Carolina in Season 4. In fact, it was Scotland. You wouldn't believe how the Frasers built their new life together in North Carolina. It's like they magically transported the American wilderness right to Scotland. They went all out to create the perfect setting for the series, and actually built the log cabin at Fraser Ridge, as well as Aunt Jocasta's River Run plantation home in northern Scotland. They used real locations and sound stages to bring these places to life. Now, you might be curious about the exact location of Fraser's Ridge, right? Well, here's the interesting part. They want to keep it a bit of a secret. Scotland has these right-to-roam laws, and the producers don't want too many tourists disturbing the residents who live near the filming locations. So they try to keep it under wraps. It adds an air of mystery, don't you think? Oh, and I have more surprises for you. They didn't just stick to Scotland. In Season 4, they traveled to Slovakia to capture breathtaking scenes of the rivers and mountains. Then, they used some visual effects wizardry to combine everything into one seamless location. They went to great lengths to create this immersive world for the viewers by scouting locations that looked like North Carolina, and even venturing out to different countries when they couldn't find an exact match. It's all about creating that perfect atmosphere and making the audience feel like they're there with the Frasers. And the costumes are a big part of the whole feel of the show, too. Let me tell you, the attention to detail when it comes to costumes on Outlander is astounding. The costume department ensures those garments look like they've been through it all. They have an arsenal of tools and tricks up their sleeves to achieve that worn-down look. I'm talking cheese graters, blowtorches, and anything to add texture and character to the clothes. Every single dress is a work of art that's carefully hand-painted and dyed to perfection. The costume department is massive. It's like a labyrinth of rooms overflowing with gowns and shoes, like a fashion wonderland. Here's a fun tidbit for you. Claire's main 18th century dress. They have not one, not two, but 12 of them. You know, just in case something happens. And believe it or not, one of her 1960s dresses took 2 weeks to put together. Why, you ask? Well, they were on a quest for the perfect knit. The costume designer, Terry Dresbach, had to create a digital inventory system called Mother, complete with barcodes and all, just to keep track of everything. Talk about organization. Now let's shift gears a bit and talk about makeup and prosthetics. They're just as important in bringing the characters to life. Makeup and hair designer Annie McEwen said they have a collection of over 300 wigs, with the number still growing, and none of these come cheap. But considering how trendy these hairpieces were at the time, it's no wonder they have so many. The show's signature makeup look is the no-makeup one, of course, but guess who spends the most time in the makeup chair? It's Sam Heughan. Those scars on his back? They take at least 3 hours to apply every time. In fact, the shooting schedule even revolves around them. They have to film all the shirtless scenes first because those silicone scars are delicate and they can't risk them getting spoiled. Speaking of Heughan, did you know he's a natural blonde? Yep, he has to dye his hair red every 2 weeks to maintain that signature look for the show. It's quite the commitment, but it definitely adds to the authenticity of the character. But Sam isn't the only one who goes the whole 9 yards for his character. John Bell did extensive research before he even started working on the show. That's young Ian. He didn't go straight to the book for his research. He immediately turned to the wiki page and inhaled every bit of information available. And that's when Bell started to delve into the books themselves. He even got his mom and grandmother to join him. The trio formed this kind of book club, where they discussed their insights. Bell's character is the one that stays with the Mohawk tribe, and to make it seem authentic, he learned their language. Like any foreign language, you need years of learning to speak it confidently. That was also the case for Ian, but his passion for the Native American culture drove him to take on the challenge. Right away, he reached out to the Mohawk Language Preservation Society, which offers the most comprehensive course available. They have an online program dedicated to revitalizing the language and preventing its extinction. Bell said access to such abundant resources was incredible. He also had the privilege of working with elders who traveled from different parts of America, including the New York area and Canada. They guided him through the distinction of specific words and tones that were crucial for authenticity, which honestly is so cool. This goes to show the kind of dedication these actors have when it comes to portraying their characters. So there you have it, from John Bell learning a whole new language to the production team building an 18th century ship. These were some of the best behind-the-scenes moments from Outlander.